the Browns were trying to put together wins this year. They were trying to evaluate their offense and see what this team could accomplish. And obviously, you wanted better things to happen when Joe Flacco was the quarterback, but the Browns didn't make that work. The reality is, you sat around during training camp and the entire preseason process. Dylan got first-team reps. Joe got first-team reps. Kenny got first-team reps. In a lot of ways, you just neglected Shedeur. Again, it showed itself on Sunday. It was bad. Everything we saw in that game, not everything, but just about everything we saw in that second half at quarterback was not good. And again, I struggle to sit here and they go, well, we're very, very, strategic and intentional about the way that we're developing all of our young players, especially those at the quarterback position. And then I watched Shedeur Sanders get put into a game where it looks like he's the exact player that we saw in college and nothing has changed. What is it that you were trying to develop Shedeur on doing? The one glaring issue that it's like, okay, what should we be working on with Shedeur? Because the ball placement was already elite in college. You know that's going to look good. You're going to obviously, get him up to speed on the offense as a whole, how to properly run a Kevin Stefanski offense in the scheme that he's in. But I would imagine some of the things that you'd be trying to work on with your quarterback development-wise is, Shedeur, we got to stop drifting back in the pocket, and we have to make sure we're getting the ball out quickly. And those should have been the two main points of emphasis. It looked like the exact same Shedeur Sanders that I saw at Colorado. Nothing had changed. And it's only, a handful of weeks 11 weeks into the season in the NFL. And then you date that all the way back to the point where you had drafted him in April and beyond. It's like, it feels like you missed the ball on the live reps part of it, which, hey, maybe if he was getting first team reps, there would have been more of. Maybe if he wasn't sitting there throwing to equipment managers during training camp, there would have been more of. I'm not oblivious to the entire fact of what this situation is. Shedeur Sanders was QB4. He was not the main focus. He was not the only focus, even though many fans probably would have preferred it to be that way. That's not how they evaluated this quarterback room. That's not how they went in. It wasn't just Shedeur and let's get Shedeur ready. There is a team aspect of that, and you have to prepare 75 plus guys basically during the preseason and beyond to actually be ready to go. And then obviously that number gets cut down, but not by that much by the time we're talking the practice squad and everything else. But there's a lot of guys to be responsible for, a lot of guys to work on the development of. But it feels like the development of Shedeur just went to the wayside. It feels like it went across when, again, Jimmy's sitting there screaming at training camp, figuratively, not literally, but he's figuratively screaming to you that both quarterbacks are going to play this season, and that's something they deem as important. I never felt that importance. I never felt the idea to get Shedeur ready was something that this Browns team ever focused on. It feels like, sure, did you want to redshirt him this year? Because that part of it never makes sense to me either. If the idea was that he wasn't going to play this season, then the idea was completely wrong. Because there's no point in drafting a quarterback in the 5th round to not play this year. You didn't draft Shedeur Sanders on the idea that he might be a good backup one day in the NFL. You drafted him on the idea of a lottery pick. And unless you weren't drafting a quarterback in 2026, which the way that they're scouting right now through college, the games that they're going to and everything else tells me that that's not something that they're just throwing away and not paying attention to. They're looking at quarterbacks. Then I just don't see the entire process of it all. It doesn't feel like you were ever preparing Shedeur to get ready. And if he was that big of a development piece, if it was never going to work in year one, then I question the fact of why you drafted him in the first place. But if you wanted him to play this year, getting him reps during training camp, getting him reps at different points during the year, and even if it wasn't while Dylan was a starter, because, yes, typically your backup quarterback does not take any, if at all, maybe a few reps during practice. And a lot of the times you see that, it's veteran quarterbacks who are taking days off, or veteran quarterbacks who just don't need to be out there. Like, does Aaron Rodgers need to run the first team rep at every single Steelers practice? I don't know. The guy's over 40. He's been doing this at an MVP level for a very long time. I don't know that that's the exact thing that you need to be doing. But yeah, Dylan needed a ton of reps. He's a rookie quarterback that you were making your starting quarterback. He needed all those reps. There were other ways to get Shedeur involved too. You had the entire training camp. Again, it feels like they've blundered the entire quarterback system that they were trying to run through with 4 different quarterbacks at the beginning of training camp. It feels like you never had a strong plan going in to actually get everybody prepared and ready to play this season. But you claimed to me that was a goal of yours. You claimed to me that was important. somewhere down the line, somewhere across that way, the Browns messed up. They messed this thing up beyond what they were actually supposed to. We knew it was going to be bad. I don't know that anybody was projecting it this bad. If you couldn't find a way to make two quarterbacks ready, rookie quarterbacks ready that you wanted to see play, the very easy solution was don't draft two rookie quarterbacks. You should have let somebody else then take the swing on Shedeur Sanders. But I think they know as well as most of us know, that was a lottery ticket that looked like it was worth taking. It just doesn't seem like they prepared for that lottery ticket ever to be a winner. They basically wrote it off as a loser right off the gate, and now they're being forced to play their hand. Just in general, like this is something that he should have been getting since he took over as the backup, which would tell you that this issue occurred within the last 6 weeks. Again, I would tell you that I think this issue goes probably further than the last 6 weeks. Probably should have been getting reps with the first team, or, again, if you planned on playing him, which a lot of signs point to the Browns wanting to have played Shedeur at some point this year, you probably should have been getting him those reps a long time ago. Like, that should have been training camp. That should have been potentially running a quarterback competition from the very start. Like a genuine quarterback competition. Again, it's not even me coming out and saying that I think Shedeur wins that competition, because I think that the way that they've viewed him in the building would tell you that he wouldn't have. It would have made sure that he had thrown a ball to Jerry Jeudy at some point. It would have made sure that the offensive line had hurt his cadence at some point, and it wasn't such a new, unknown feeling to the first team offense of watching their new quarterback that's going to be starting this week, that was in the second half of a crucial game for them, in trying to basically learn everything that he likes to do, wants to do, all on the fly, something that they're also going to have to do very quickly, trying to turn things around this week. Again, 216-474-0092. Let's go out to the phones. Todd's in Ward 1. What's going on, Todd?
Nah, I don't think they messed it up, Jake. The pickings were slim this year. So, considering where Shedeur was picked, that's all right. I mean, if they picked him up in the higher rounds, that would have been a problem. He looked like a Ram to me, though. I thought he looked right sitting behind Stafford for a year, but since he didn't do that, and he's sitting here with the Browns, he looks about what he is, a fifth round pick. That if he gets enough room, he'll be respectable next year. And what better team other than the Titans for him to play and look good is the Raiders. So I think this is a chance for him to really get his skill set on display under a relatively relaxed environment, whatever relaxed is in the NFL for a game. Because, like I said, other than the Titans, that looks like the easiest game left on the schedule. So, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the easiest game outside of the Titans. If you're preparing him for next year, and that was the end goal anyway, and that's the time it's going to take, I just don't see them bypassing. If they like a quarterback in the first round, they're going to take that quarterback, and then drafting Shedeur in general was basically all for naught.
Well, he definitely needs the video for himself to really get a good feel for what his quality of play is, so that it'll work out for him if he plays against the Raiders. But I do have an exiting question, because I haven't been paying close enough attention personally. Who's the outstanding QB in Division I this year? Who's the guy?
By far right now, I would say looks like Mendoza at Indiana would be my clear number one pick. There's also Dante Moore in Oregon, Ty Simpson in Alabama. Those are like your top three names of guys that would likely come out and be in that first round.
Are any of them taller than 6'3"?
I think Mendoza's like 6'5", so yeah, he would definitely clear that mark.
And then Mendoza implies to me he's a Spanish kid?
I don't think so.
I know Indiana's rolling over people, but I haven't seen him play. But I will be seeing him play soon, because it's going to be them in the Ohio State, most likely, right?
Yeah, I mean, those are your top two teams in the country right now. Indiana's shown some cracks, but haven't faltered yet. So,
can they play each other in the Big Ten championship?
I believe so.
Okay, I'll see them soon. All right, cool, Jake.
I appreciate the call, Todd.
Yep.
I don't know Fernando Mendoza. I mean, the name implies something.
He's from Miami. I know that.
So, I mean, the ties could be there. I don't know. Listen, I pay close enough attention to Indiana to look at the kid and be like, he can throw the football. That's about as far as digging as I've done on Mendoza. That's about as far as I go. I've not dug into his roots. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I don't know. Bad work by me? I would think not. I cover Cleveland sports. I pay attention across the board. But we cover Cleveland here, and I couldn't tell you the nationalities and ethnicities of the players that are on the Browns right now, let alone the starting quarterback for Indiana. And he's 6'5" and he can hum a football. would probably be my pick for the number one. I like Mendoza. I think he's all right. But I do think first reps is an interesting thing here because you heard Daryl. Daryl went to bat and said that he doesn't think it was a mistake that Shedeur was not getting first team reps when he joined us at 8 o'clock. And again, Odyssey Rewind feature if you guys missed Daryl. But he said that doesn't feel like Shedeur should have been getting first team reps. And basically the Browns created this problem on their own by giving Gabriel first team reps while Joe was there because most other teams wouldn't do it. Mary Kay Cabot, Cleveland.com, on with Baskin and Phelps today, took a little bit of a different approach to that and maybe felt the other way.
I 100% think that they should have, because it is a unique situation. Most backup quarterbacks have played some football before in their career. Most backup quarterbacks aren't backing up another rookie. I do understand that most backups don't get any reps, and if they do get any, it's a couple here and there, a handful. Even a handful during the week would have been helpful for Shedeur if you are making him your backup quarterback. If not, then don't make him your backup quarterback. I wrote a column a while back saying that perhaps he would be best served by not being QB2 just for this very reason, because he wasn't probably going to get the reps, and most of all, he wasn't going to have a game plan designed for his skill set once he got out there.
So I think this is where I agree with Mary Kay in a lot of ways, is that I have no problem with Shedeur really not getting reps. I mean, I've basically said that from the beginning of when he was the backup quarterback. Again, you have a rookie starting quarterback. Your rookie starting quarterback needs as many reps possibly as he can get. Just the same way that right now, obviously, Dylan's injury throws a wrench in this thing. Bailey Zappe's probably going to be your backup quarterback this week. But if it was just flipped and it was time, they decided, we're going to let Shedeur take over the offense and Dylan is going to serve as that backup, I wouldn't expect you to continue to give reps to Dylan Gabriel. Right? Like, he doesn't need to continue to get first-team reps. I would hope those are going to Shedeur for the best chance for that quarterback to possibly succeed. I can't ask anything differently when those roles are reversed. The problem is when you go through and you make him the backup quarterback. I can't sit here and just throw him as the backup and act like there's nothing wrong with it. He's not prepared to play in the game. Not only are him and Dylan's skill sets so vastly different that I hope you would not have an identical game plan for the two of them. And if you did, it would tell me that you're inept as an organization and you can't realize the game plan for a quarterback that you have in the building. I'm sorry, you're not the San Francisco 49ers. You don't have Brock Purdy and Mac Jones who can thrive under the same system. You took two quarterbacks who could not be different from each other in a lot of ways. And yet you still made him the backup quarterback. Like, that's the problem. That's sort of the issue that we look at is you go to the Browns. You don't have to go through and make Shedeur the backup. You could have served. Bailey Zappe could have basically stepped in, and they could have elevated him multiple times for several weeks before making Shedeur the backup and just used practice squad elevations in order to do so. You could have. I mean, they've moved around the roster multiple times. You could just carry three quarterbacks. It's always an option. They were doing it earlier on in the season. You could just continue to do that and elevate Bailey Zappe from the practice squad to the active roster and actually just make the promotion and sign him to a non-practice squad contract. That's also another option. But we also heard the reports previously. They wanted to give Shedeur a full week before they would have named him the starter and put him in the game. Basically, dispelling the idea that they would have willingly brought Shedeur in at halftime of a game because Dylan was playing bad, not because he got a concussion or injured in any other way. Okay, but you know how this thing goes. You can't act like Dylan Gabriel is just going to be a rock and never be injured. It's a quarterback in the National Football League. Guys, look around the NFL. Quarterbacks get injured left and right. We had multiple injuries just this week when it came to quarterbacks. We saw Jordan Love miss time in the game despite coming back. We saw Michael Penix hurt his ACL for like the fourth time. Very unfortunate. Like, we know that injuries occur to quarterbacks all the time. And it's not like we can ignore the fact that Dylan is, I will generously say, sub 6 foot and not a thick build whatsoever. Like, he is not a well-built quarterback in the NFL from a physical standpoint. There's a real opportunity that at any given moment he could be injured. You set Shedeur up to be ready to play in that game. And yet, he wasn't actually ready to play in the game. And thus you get the result that you had. I'm not taking all the blame off of Shedeur Sanders. Yes, he played poorly. Then there's no way to just walk away from that and say that he did it. But he also didn't do everything in your power to make sure, again, your backup quarterback, no matter who that is, was ready to step on the field. If your backup quarterback in this moment was, say, a guy that was here previously in Joe Flacco, Joe doesn't need to see any reps. Even if Joe hadn't started the year, Joe doesn't need to see any reps. He's done this. The game plan, he can't operate and just go in and be himself. And is it going to look like the prettiest thing in the world? Probably not. Is it going to look better when you game plan for him to be your starter? Yeah, probably. But he can step in and be the quarterback that he's been and just operate, and he's an 18-year veteran, and he does that. Shedeur's never stepped on an NFL field before in a regular season game. That's, again, partially on you.